If you pause for a moment, truly pause, and turn your attention inward, you might sense something extraordinary. The quiet hum of a living universe operating beneath your awareness. While you sit here listening, an entire cosmos of processes is unfolding inside you with absolute precision. Your heart contracts rhythmically, loyal and uncomplaining. Your lungs lift and fall like ancient waves. Your brain sparks with electrical storms you never consciously initiate. And yet somehow, all these movements form the seamless experience you call yourself. It is easy to forget that we inhabit a body. We live instead inside our thoughts, our worries, our ambitions, rarely acknowledging the biological vessel that makes all of it possible. But the human body is not merely a container. It is a profound symbol, a psychological landscape, and a philosophical question rolled into one. Carl Jung once suggested that the body carries truths the mind has not yet understood. When you consider that over 37 trillion cells are cooperating moment by moment, without complaint, without ego, without hesitation, you begin to sense that your body is more than flesh. It is an organism of astounding unity, a community, a collective psyche with its own ancient intelligence. And every system, your lungs, your heart, your hormones, your nerves, functions like a story unfolding in real time, attempting to keep you alive, aligned, and capable of growth. What makes this especially fascinating is that these processes work even when your conscious mind is lost in thought. You can be anxious, confused, or heartbroken, and still your body will keep you alive. The lungs will still breathe, the heart will still beat, blood will still circulate to the furthest edge of your being. There is something almost parental about this, an invisible caretaking. Your biology is constantly regulating, repairing, recalibrating. It is a silent guardian. But there is also something profoundly psychological happening. The systems of the body are not isolated from your emotional and sexual life. They are deeply intertwined. When you feel desire, fear, excitement, or connection, it is not only the mind at work, it is your hormones shifting, your nervous system heightening, your breath deepening, your pulse accelerating. Jung might say the body reveals the unconscious long before the conscious mind catches up. A blush, a tremor, a sudden warmth across the chest. These are not random reactions, but messages, reflections of the psyche expressed through the physical form. When we speak about the body, we often reduce it to mechanics, muscles and bones, organs and tissues. But your body is also the stage of your inner world, the vessel of your instincts, the bridge between the rational and the primal. Desire itself, the force that creates life and drives human intimacy, is written into your biology just as much as your psychology. The endocrine system releases hormones that shape not only your physical maturation, but also your patterns of attraction, your emotional rhythms, your sense of vitality. The nervous system interprets touch not merely as sensation, but as meaning. And the brain, your living archive, records experiences that influence every future connection you form. This is why understanding the human body is not just about anatomy. It is about self-knowledge. To know how your systems work is to know how you work. To understand your breath is to understand your anxiety. To understand your heartbeat is to understand your fear. To understand your hormones is to understand your longing, your motivation, and your creative energy. So as we move through each system in this video, I want you to see more than biological functions. I want you to see symbols, expressions of life's deeper architecture. The circulatory system is the story of movement and giving. The nervous system is the story of connection and interpretation. The digestive system is the story of transformation. The reproductive system is the story of future, instinct, and the continuation of human consciousness itself. All of these systems communicate with each other in perfect synchrony, like an orchestra, guided not by a visible conductor, but by a rhythm older than civilization. And you, the listener, the observer, are the result of that coordination. You are the harmony that emerges when billions of processes work together. You are the coherence born from complexity. But perhaps the most striking truth is this: your body is always participating in your life, even when your mind is elsewhere. You may forget it, neglect it, criticize it, or take it for granted, but it is always on your side. With every breath and every heartbeat, it is making you possible. So as we begin this journey through the human body, I invite you to approach it not just with curiosity, but with respect. Let this be a reminder that you are not separate from the miracle you're trying to understand. You are living it. You are carrying it. You are it. And if there is one insight to hold on to, it is this. The more you understand your body, the more powerfully you can understand yourself. Let that awareness move with you as we continue. Let it reshape the way you listen, the way you breathe, the way you live. Because this knowledge is not only scientific, it is personal, and it begins the moment you choose to pay attention. If we turn now from the body's silent physical labor to the systems that govern our experience, we encounter something far more subtle. Because beneath every heartbeat, beneath every breath, beneath every instinctual pull toward desire or fear, there exists a hidden architecture, an inner government that shapes not only your biology, but your identity itself. These are the systems that interpret the world for you, negotiate your reactions, and ultimately define how you move, think, and feel. And in many ways, they reveal the deep psychological patterns Carl Jung spent a lifetime describing. The tension between the conscious self and the unconscious forces that guide it. Consider first the nervous system, that vast network of electrical pathways stretching through your entire body like a cosmic web. It is easy to imagine the brain as a command center, but in truth, it is more like a dreamer, constantly weaving interpretations out of raw sensation. Every sound, every touch, every emotion begins as a signal, a tiny electrical impulse that travels along nerves and arrives in the brain, where it is given meaning. The brain does not show you the world as it is, it shows you the world as you are, and this alone is enough to make the nervous system feel less like a biological tool and more like a psychological storyteller. You might think you see a simple image, but your brain layers it with memory. You might believe you are reacting to a moment, but you are often reacting to a lifetime. This is why Jung believed the body holds the unconscious. Because the nervous system is constantly retrieving impressions, symbols, fears, and longings from places the conscious mind rarely explores. A racing heartbeat might be a danger signal, or it might be the stirring of desire. A chill across the skin may come from fear or anticipation. The nervous system interprets before you understand, shaping your reality at a level that bypasses rational control. And then there is the endocrine system, the quiet chemist of your inner world. If the nervous system is electricity, the endocrine system is alchemy, turning experiences into hormones that influence mood, energy, appetite, sexual desire, and even the way you experience time. A surge of adrenaline can make minutes feel like seconds. A rise in oxytocin can turn a simple touch into intimacy. A shift in testosterone or estrogen can awaken a new sense of confidence or longing. These hormonal movements affect not just the body, but the psyche. They color your emotional landscape, define your relational patterns, and shape the archetypal roles you unconsciously inhabit. This is where the philosophical and the biological begin to merge. The endocrine system reflects the deepest rhythms of human life: growth, attraction, bonding, stress, transformation. These are not simply chemical responses, they are the markers of personal evolution. Desire itself, that powerful and often mysterious force, is both psychological and hormonal, both symbolic and physical. Jung would say it is the psyche reaching towards something it lacks. Biology might call it reproductive or instinctual. In truth, it is both. The body speaks the language of the mind, and the mind expresses itself through the body. When you feel drawn to someone, your hormones shift long before your conscious thoughts catch up. When you experience meaning, your nervous system bathes the moment in emotional significance. When you face conflict, your body prepares for battle, even if the threat is only internal. This interplay between electricity and chemistry shapes your personality more than any single thought you form. It influences what you chase and what you avoid, whom you trust and whom you fear, what you hunger for and what you reject. The nervous system and endocrine system are not just biological regulators. They are the architects of your inner myth. They decide how you interpret the world, how you respond to intimacy, how you navigate conflict, how you express emotion. They contain your shadow, your instincts, your potential for transformation. And when these systems work harmoniously, your experience of life becomes clearer, more grounded, more integrated. But when they fall out of balance, you feel it instantly. Racing thoughts, anxious spirals, emotional volatility, exhaustion, or the haunting sense that something inside you is misaligned. This is why understanding these systems is not simply educational, it is liberating. When you recognize that a sudden wave of fear might be your nervous system misreading a signal, you gain the freedom to question it. When you understand that desire can be both chemical and symbolic, you can explore it with greater honesty. When you realize that your hormonal cycles influence your confidence, motivation, or mood, you can learn to work with them rather than fight them. Knowledge becomes insight. Insight becomes awareness. Awareness becomes power. And the most remarkable truth is that both systems respond to your choices. Breathing slowly can calm the nervous system. Movement can rebalance hormones. Stillness can reveal what is truly driving your reactions. The body listens to how you live, and it reshapes itself accordingly. So as we journey deeper into the body, keep this awareness close. Your inner regulators are not mechanical. They are psychological companions, expressing your unconscious truths through physical form. Respect them, learn from them, and allow them to teach you who you are beneath the surface of reason, because the moment you begin to understand the forces that govern your inner life, you no longer move through the world unconsciously. You move with intention, and intention, once awakened, changes everything. When we shift our attention to the systems that sustain our physical existence, we begin to see an entirely different dimension of the human experience, one that is often overlooked because it is too constant, too faithful, too quiet. These are the systems that do not ask for your awareness, yet grant you every moment of life you've ever had. And if the nervous and endocrine systems represent the interpretive and symbolic layers of your inner world, then the circulatory, respiratory, and digestive systems form the foundation, the ground upon which consciousness stands. Jung might say they are the archetypal forces of survival, the primal energies that precede thought, the instincts that keep us tethered to life, even when the psyche wanders through complexity. Think, for a moment, of the circulatory system. Billions of cells depend on a single organ beating with unwavering devotion. The heart is not merely a pump, it is a rhythm, a reminder of continuity, an ancient drum echoing through your chest from the moment your life began. Long before you formed language, long before you developed personality, your heart was already there, working without your permission or guidance. It is the first organ to awaken in the womb, and one of the last to surrender at death. In that sense, it holds a symbolic weight few systems can match. The heart is the archetype of persistence, devotion, and, in a deeper sense, love. Not romantic love as culture frames it, but the raw biological commitment to existence. Every beat carries oxygen, nutrients, and hormones through your circulatory pathways, delivering what each cell requires with astonishing precision. It is a system of giving, a constant exchange, a form of generosity built into your biology. And if you zoom out, you see a psychological parallel. The way life demands that energy flow, that emotion move, that connection circulate. Stagnation, whether in blood or in feeling, creates illness. Movement creates life. In this way, the circulatory system becomes a metaphor for emotional health. When you hold too much, when you restrict yourself, when you refuse to process what you feel, you block the inner flow. But when you allow emotion to circulate, you create vitality. Biology and psyche telling the same story. Then there is the respiratory system, the breath, that delicate bridge between the conscious and the unconscious. You can control your breath when you choose, but it continues without you when your attention drifts. It is both voluntary and involuntary, both personal and universal. In many ancient traditions, breath is synonymous with spirit, with presence, with life force. Jung would likely recognize breath as a symbol of the psyche's cyclical nature, taking in what is new, releasing what has been used. Every inhale is an invitation, every exhale a surrender. Breath reveals emotional states before we articulate them. Shallow in fear, deep in calm, unsteady in desire, held tight in grief. The lungs mirror the inner weather, and biologically, their task is profound. Oxygen enters your bloodstream like a silent fuel, empowering every cell to perform its purpose. Without breath, consciousness fades in seconds. But with breath, everything becomes possible. Movement, connection, imagination. The respiratory system reflects the fundamental truth that to live is to exchange, to let in and to let go, both literally and psychologically. Finally, the digestive system, perhaps the most misunderstood of them all. It is easy to view digestion as a simple mechanical breakdown of food, but in truth, it is a process of transformation. What you take in from the external world becomes part of you, absorbed into your tissues, woven into your identity. This is not just biological, it is symbolic. You digest more than food. You digest experiences, emotions, stories, relationships. You metabolize moments. You extract nourishment from life, and you discard what no longer serves you. When digestion is healthy, you move through the world with energy. When it is imbalanced, you feel heavy, unclear, overstimulated, or depleted. It is a mirror of how well you process the world, physically and psychologically. There is a subtle sexual dimension here as well. The gut, often called the second brain, responds to attraction, intuition, and emotional truth long before the rational mind does. Butterflies, warmth, tightening, or sudden quietness. These sensations signal the body's instinctual reading of the moment, often revealing desire, caution, or resonance. Your digestive system communicates with your brain continuously, shaping mood, perception, and even what you seek in others. Once again, biology and psychology merge seamlessly. All three of these systems, circulation, respiration, digestion, form the essential infrastructure of life. They keep you alive, yes, but more importantly, they support your capacity to feel, to think, to connect, to grow. They sustain the conditions under which consciousness can exist at all. And if you listen closely, they offer wisdom. Keep things moving, stay open, transform what you take in, and release what you must. These are not just physiological instructions. They are life principles. When you understand the systems that keep you alive, you begin to recognize how deeply the physical and psychological are intertwined. You see that your body is not merely reacting, it is expressing, reflecting, revealing. It is showing you where you hold tension, where you lack flow, where you resist change, where you crave connection. And if you learn to interpret these signals, you gain an intimate understanding of yourself that few people ever access. Because at the most fundamental level, your life is carried by rhythms older than thought, pulse, breath, hunger, desire. Learn to honor them, and you learn to honor yourself. And the truth is simple. The more deeply you listen to your body, the more clearly you will understand your life. As we continue moving through the human body, we reach a category of systems that operate with a different kind of intelligence. One that protects, supports, and preserves the structure of our existence. If the earlier systems sustain life on a biological level, these systems safeguard it on a symbolic and psychological level as well. They represent boundaries, strength, resilience, identity, and the primal instinct to survive. Jung often spoke of the psyche's need for protection, structures that keep the unconscious from overwhelming consciousness. The body mirrors this perfectly. It gives us armor, it gives us frameworks, and it gives us the capacity to defend our inner world from forces that would otherwise destabilize us. Think of the immune system, for instance. It is an army we never see, yet it fights for us with a loyalty that rivals anything in mythology. Day after day, it identifies threats, organizes responses, eliminates invaders, and restores balance. Most of this happens without our awareness. And yet, psychologically, it holds a powerful symbolic message. It represents the boundaries we set, the instincts we rely on, the invisible intelligence that decides what belongs to us and what does not. Jung might describe it as the guardian of the self, the part of us that protects our integrity, both physically and emotionally. We often underestimate how deeply the body expresses our psyche. Stress unresolved conflict, suppressed emotion. All of these can influence the immune system. It is as if the body reacts not only to physical threats, but to existential ones. When you feel overwhelmed, drained, or emotionally invaded, your defense system reflects that inner state. And this reminds us of something crucial. Protection is not only physical, it is emotional. The immune system demonstrates the ancient truth that every individual must learn what to allow in and what to keep out. It is a lesson of boundaries, translated into biology. The skin, too, tells this story. Your skin is your largest organ, your outermost boundary, the first point of contact between you and the world. It shields you from harm, regulates your temperature, and, perhaps most importantly, it allows you to feel. Every touch, every brush of warmth, every sensation of closeness or distance passes through the skin. This is where the psychological and sexual dimensions become impossible to ignore. Touch has the power to soothe or disturb, to awaken desire or reinforce fear, to trigger memory or deepen trust. The skin communicates with the brain long before words can form. It is, in many ways, the emotional surface of the body. And symbolically, the skin represents identity, how you appear, how you present yourself, the boundary between your inner life and the outer world. This is why changes to the skin often feel so personal. They touch something deeper than aesthetics. They touch the sense of self. The body once again mirrors the psyche, showing us that identity is always expressed through a boundary. Then we encounter the skeletal system, the architecture upon which everything else is built. These bones, often thought of as inert structures, are in fact alive, dynamic, constantly regenerating and restructuring themselves in response to your life. They are the framework that holds you upright, literally and symbolically. Jung wrote extensively about the need for structure in the psyche. Containers that hold our experiences, principles that support our decisions, archetypes that shape our development. The skeletal system embodies this perfectly. It is the structure of life, the foundation that allows movement, intention, and purpose. Bones protect your most vital organs, the skull guarding the brain, the ribs protecting the heart and lungs, the spine shielding the delicate nervous system. They form the sanctuary in which your most essential functions can operate. And psychologically, they remind us of the necessity of inner strength. Without a strong framework, whether physical or emotional, life collapses inward. When your values are unclear, when your boundaries are fragile, when your sense of direction dissolves, it is the inner skeleton, so to speak, that must be rebuilt, and beside the skeleton stands the muscular system, the force, the action, the will. Muscles give you movement. They allow you to express desire, pursue goals, defend yourself, embrace another. Every gesture, from the smallest blink to the most powerful act, is carried by muscle. And here we see, again, a psychological parallel. The muscles are the embodiment of intention. They translate inner impulses into visible reality. Without them, your thoughts would remain unexpressed, your decisions unacted, your desires unfulfilled. There is also an undeniable sensual intelligence in the muscular system. Attraction, power, vulnerability, tension. These are expressed through muscle long before they reach consciousness. A quickened pulse, a tightening of the chest, a softening of posture. These shifts reveal what your rational mind may not yet be ready to admit. The body speaks through movement, and movement reveals truth. All these protective and supportive systems, immune, skin, skeletal, muscular, show us that the body does not merely respond to life. It interprets it. It creates barriers, structure, and form. It expresses emotion, instinct, and meaning. It carries the primal memory of what it means to survive, and the subtle expression of what it means to be human. And if we learn to listen, we discover that the body is always teaching us how to protect ourselves, how to stand firm, how to move with intention, how to open and how to close. It shows us that survival is not passive. It is active. It requires awareness, strength, boundaries, and flexibility, because in the end, the systems that protect you physically also reveal how you must protect yourself psychologically. And the insight is simple. Strengthen your boundaries, and you strengthen your life. As we enter the final systems of the human body, we come to functions that reveal something profoundly intimate about the human condition. These systems are not just mechanisms of survival, they are statements of meaning. They deal with the cleanup of life's byproducts, the continuation of the species, and the mystery of how the human organism maintains equilibrium in a world that is constantly changing. If earlier systems demonstrated how life sustains itself, these final ones show how life protects its integrity and ensures its continuation, physically, sexually, psychologically, and even symbolically. The excretory system might appear unglamorous on the surface, but in truth it is a marvel of discernment. It filters, evaluates, separates, and releases. It decides what is useful and what is no longer needed. The kidneys, for example, silently process vast amounts of blood every day, extracting toxins, balancing electrolytes, maintaining internal order. They act with a kind of quiet wisdom. There is no hesitation, no emotional conflict, simply the execution of clarity. Keep this, remove that. Psychologically, this mirrors one of the most essential human tasks. We too must constantly evaluate what belongs in our inner life and what must be released. Old patterns, outdated beliefs, emotional residues from experiences long past. They accumulate in the psyche the same way toxins accumulate in the body, and without a process of inner excretion, they can cloud our judgment, drain our energy, and distort our perception of the world. Jung spoke often of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are. And a large part of that process involves letting go of what no longer serves your growth. The body's excretory system does this instinctively, without drama, without attachment. It is a model for psychological clarity. If you watch how your body handles waste, efficiently, consistently, without sentimentality, you realize something essential. Life is sustained by the ability to release. The skin, lungs, kidneys, and even the bowels all participate in this cleansing, each one removing what the body cannot use. And there is something philosophical here, something deeply honest. To live well, you must learn to let go well. Every release makes space for something new. Then we arrive at the reproductive system, the most symbolically charged of all. This system carries with it not only the biological imperative to reproduce, but also the psychological and archetypal energies of desire, creation, union, and continuation. It is the system most deeply tied to instinct, emotion, vulnerability, and identity. Sexuality, in this context, is not merely biological. It is a language, a force, a bridge between bodies and psyches. Desire itself is layered. On one level, it is the body's ancient call toward reproduction. On another, it is the psyche's yearning for connection, affirmation, transformation. It holds the tension between instinct and meaning, between the primal and the symbolic. Jung often noted that sexuality, when understood only physically, becomes flat and reductive. But when we recognize its psychological depth, we see that it expresses longing, not just for another person, but for wholeness. The reproductive system is intimately connected to hormones that shape mood. Aggression, tenderness, confidence, vulnerability. It influences not only attraction, but the patterns we form in relationships, the roles we inhabit, the fears we carry, the wounds we repeat. This system speaks to the part of us that seeks to merge, to be seen, to be felt, to create. Whether or not one chooses to have children is irrelevant. The psychological energy of creation exists in everyone. It manifests in art, ambition, connection, invention, intimacy. It is the creative impulse of life made physical. And there is a profound truth hidden inside this system. The body holds the power to create another body, to generate life from within life. This is the closest biology comes to expressing the sacred. Regardless of culture or belief, the ability to produce new life forces us to confront the mystery of existence. It is not simply reproduction, it is continuity. It is the human story woven through flesh. Between the excretory and reproductive systems, we see a pattern emerge. One releases what is complete, the other creates what is new. One clears space, the other fills it. One removes, the other generates. And between these two forces lies the dynamic flow of life. The psyche works the same way. Growth requires both release and creation, both endings and beginnings, both death and birth in symbolic form. These final systems reveal how the human organism manages both the past and the future, how it cleanses itself of what burdens it and prepares itself to continue. They are a reminder that life is not static. It is cyclical, directional, evolving, and the body carries this wisdom in every function it performs. When you truly understand how these systems operate, you begin to see that your body is not only keeping you alive, it is teaching you how to live. It shows you how to let go, how to connect, how to transform, how to renew. It shows you that survival is not merely endurance. It is adaptation. It is openness. It is willingness to change. The human body is a profound teacher, and its final lesson is simple, powerful, and unavoidable. Learn to release what weighs you down, and you create space for the life you are meant to live.